insurance agents. This is your girl Trista, and I am super excited to be on. I get to have somebody on here with me that I've been working with for about 8 months now. I've known him for a little bit longer than that. He's been in this community for quite some time, and you guys are going to be able to hear his journey. I am super excited to be able to do that. All right, guys, as we dive in for this amazing training that we're going to have, we're going to be talking and hearing Bryan's story of just being where he's at, where he was, and as actually joining Producers Academy. You're going to hear a little bit about that. And I'm just super excited. I am the lead coach here and training specialist with Jumpstart Go and one of the creators of Producers Academy. So super excited about that. But you guys know all about marketing for insurance agents. This is 32,000 members in counting here. And so we love what we do every single day. We get to wake up and do what we love to do. And I hope that you guys get to wake up every single day and do what you guys love to do, which is helping people. So we get to come in here and we get to help insurance agents. That's you. We get to help you guys double your production. We get to help you guys fire your lead vendors. We get to help you guys ditch the smiling and dialing forever through organic marketing strategies. And I want to help you make big bucks too. Maybe not the ones on the door, but maybe some that you can buy some nice things with. So we get to be able to help agents every single day be able to do that with inside Jumpstart Go and with Producers Academy. So Bryan, really quick, can you just introduce yourself? Take 30 seconds to a minute. Tell us who you are, introduce yourself, and then we're going to dive into this training today.
What's up, everyone? My name is Bryan Moore. I'm in the state of Delaware. Everybody says, what city are you from? I'm not really from a city. Delaware's a small state. I've been in the insurance industry a little over 3 years. I spent most of my younger years being a contractor and in construction. So it was time to make a change. I've been doing that so long, ever since I was little with my father. So I decided to make a change. I had a buddy that started a pretty successful agency, and I kind of run the Delaware office, and they take care of the Richmond office. But we're licensed up and down the East Coast and a few states out west. Just really enjoying it. I wish I would have got into it 20 years ago, but insurance wasn't really glorified like it is now. It's just with social media and everything. It's just been a great journey so far, and I love it. I love this industry to death. It's amazing.
Yeah, I love it. For me, it's been 16 years, and it's been life-changing for me. It really is. For me to be where I'm at today to where I was, if you would have told me 16 years ago that I would be on a Facebook Live within a group of 32,000 other insurance agents, helping agents like yourself every single day, I would have told you guys you were lying to me. So I would have never believed it. So here we are. Bryan, we're going to dive into the success that you've had in these past 3 years, and just really the success that I've seen you have in these past 8 months since you've been come on to the Producers Academy and you've been working alongside of that. Bryan, when you sent us kind of some of your stats, it kind of reminded me of a yo-yo. Like there's good months and there's bad months. There's a roller coaster, right? Or that yo-yo, you're down and up and down and up. And really, as agents for ourselves, or trusted risk advisors, we really want to see that consistency. So we're going to kind of talk about how you're starting to see that consistency with implementing new things that you're learning, and then setting those goals, stretching yourself, and then really what you've gotten out of these past 8 months. So we're going to uncover some of the secrets behind Bryan's success. Today, guys, we're going to talk about the game-changing activity that he's doing, how he's tracking his activity, how he's being accountable for his activity, how the boost of the confidence and being on the phones resulting in more closes, more opportunities to talk to people, and a higher closing percentage, and to where now he's able to help really his target market, which is contractors, because he can relate to them so much, because that's what he did. You heard it. That's what he did for 30 years. And then he's going to talk about how he's starting to build centers of influences and how that's just been a game changer. And then what he's been learning inside the Producers Academy. If you guys are wanting to close more deals and get more referrals and simply grow in your business, do not get off of this live until we say goodbye, okay? That is a promise. Do not go anywhere until we say goodbye. So let's dive in. Bryan, I have a question for you. As you started this and embarking this, from your time that you started from day one to where you're at now, kind of think about that. Share with us, Bryan, some of the specific strategies or activities that you've implemented to lead such a significant increase in your monthly production?
I think the main thing is just staying active. I think when you get into the industry, no matter what side you're in, P&C life or whatever, but I'm in the P&C space. You know what I mean? And the platform that we have here, that my principal built, we have like 100 carriers. So it's like coming into that. It's not like I was just learning one or two carriers. It was like learning 35 carriers at one time. So it is overwhelming in a little bit, but then at the same time, you're trying to grab on what you want to do or what niche you want to try to get into. And that took me a little bit to get into. And, it's just recently in the last year, I still was like, well, maybe I'll get into this niche or maybe this side of it. You know what I mean? But our platform set up here is like P&C. We do a little bit of life, not much. You can get into it a little bit, but just being able to have a platform where you can kind of pick and choose what you want to do, it kind of made it easier. But ultimately, you had to make that choice of what exactly you wanted to do. You know what I mean? What I wanted to do. So it was, you get the shiny object syndrome. You're like, oh, maybe I'll try this, or maybe I'll try this, or maybe I'll try this. But I started out in home and auto. That's it's just P&C space. You know what I mean? But it's like as time evolved, it's just like I kind of just lost interest in that a little bit. You know what I mean? It's just it doesn't. It's the same thing. It's all the customers are. It's a transactional base. It's about the bottom dollar, saving money. And with all the changes that happened in the industry last summer into now, it's just been crazy. It's just service work. So for me personally, I was like, listen, I got to use my expertise, my construction background, and try to dive into that market where I know I can help these business owners because I know what they go through on a daily basis and what their day looks like. They don't have time to deal with the insurance aspect of it, but they do want to know what their policies consist of. Am I protected? What do I need to do? It's been a great journey so far. It's just like you have to evolve in the business. And like I said, it's a very overwhelming in the beginning, but one of the main things that I started to do was time block. When you get in, you're kind of like all over the place. You might get in the morning and check emails. You might do this. I had no consistency or no rhythm to it. I didn't really know what to do. You know what I'm saying? When I first came in, my buddy's like, there's a training, have at it. There was no sales training. It was like, get in these platforms, figure it out yourself, and then just let me know if you have any problems. You know what I mean? So, and it's still that way. I barely talk to him, but he's been my best friend for like 40 years, but we have a great platform here. I think anybody that comes into the industry, you really need to pick a niche. You know what I mean? Maybe one or two or three, maybe not just one when you first start, but as you evolve, you might settle into that one niche. That way you can really lock that down and become, a great agent in that space.
Yeah. Let me talk about that for a minute, because we hear this all the time, Bryan. When people come into the Closers Click and Producers Academy, we hear because as agents, as trusted risk advisors, we hear we can help anybody. And yes, that's true. We can help anybody that needs the line of business, whether it be auto, whether it be home on the P&C side, commercial or life and health. We can help anybody. But sometimes when you're so spread out, right, you're not really narrowing down to who you can help. And as David, he said it in the comments, riches are in the niches. Like knowing who you're going to help, narrowing that target audience down really allows for you to be able to put forth your marketing efforts, be able to put forth who you're going to go after, what your target message is going to be, or your marketing message, who you're going to help, and to really then have not so much blinders, but in a sense blinders, so that you're laser focused on hitting your goals. You're laser focused on who you're helping. So when I got into the insurance world, after I left Allstate, because we didn't really have that much of a market, but for this particular commercial product, but once I got into the independent side and opened up my own agency, I really said, okay, I want to go after churches. Why? Because my husband and I are pastors, so I know the language. I know pastors, all that stuff. I want to be able to make sure that, pastors and congregations are properly protected. So I went after that. So that's what I narrowed down. Now, I helped anybody that needed a quote on home and auto. I didn't say no to them, but I was able to narrow down to exactly what I was going after and laser focus on churches. And it was so much so that the laughing joke in my area was like, oh, if you ain't going to get a church policy in your book of business, because Trista's going to go after them. And in fact, I did. And so, but it was such I spoke the language. So like you are a contractor, so you understand that language. So you understand what type of protection they need to make sure that they have all of their I's dotted and their T's crossed, so they can get their job done and not have to worry about a liability. So that's so important what you said, Bryan. So talk to me a little bit here. Bryan, take us back to where you were at in the business, to what made you decide to really say, okay, I need some type of change for, and then you said, okay, yes to Producers Academy. And those of you guys are joining and saying, what's Producers Academy? Hold on, we're going to tell you in a minute. But kind of take us through that journey, Bryan.
I think the main reason I joined is because of you, and then David and Elle from the Marketing for Insurance Agents, just what you guys are really all about, and how you're trying to help agents. I think a lot of agents get stuck in that everyday rut where it's like you don't know where to turn. You know what I mean? It's you're busy, but you're not, doing revenue generating activities. It's very easy to get caught in that situation. You know what I mean? You might think you're busy, but if you're not selling policies, it's pointless. You know what I mean? So It's like, for me, it was just kind of like the shiny object syndrome. I dealt with that a lot. You know what I mean? It's just like, like I said, I kind of like the home and auto. It's just like the same thing. It's monotonous. It's just, it's easy to do. You know what I mean? And so it's just like you said, it's always going to be there. You know what I mean? But it's like, and then I just really think once that I decided, like, I was like, I need some other training that's more insurance specific, because I've done other trainings outside this that weren't there were sales trainings, but not insurance trainings, like insurance specific trainings that that you're getting all the lingo, you know what I mean, and it's the language that's coming back out of it, and I really needed to tap into that to be able to get to where I wanted to go without taking another 2 or 3 years, because it was just like I saw that path and it scared me, because I was like, unless you get specific training, and it's with anything in life, you know what I mean, or any area you're in, any business you're in, no matter what, it's like you find someone that's teaching what you want to learn, that's already done that, and then once you get into that, it's going to shave years off your learning experience, your learning curve, you know what I mean? So it's I just didn't want to spend another 3-4 years just trying to get to that next level, $20,000, $30,000, $40,000 months, you know what I mean? It's just, for me, that's good. That's good for a lot of agents, but I want to get above that, you know what I mean? And that wasn't going to happen if I stayed where I was at.
Yeah, I love it. So you took that time to really say, okay, this is where I'm at. This is where I want to go. Now, what do I need to do to get me from point A to point B? And it may be a little bit uncomfortable, because Bryan will tell you sometimes on Producers Academy, like, oh, I'm just throwing somebody on the hot seat, and they're like, why me? And like, I see cameras start going off, and all of a sudden people start dropping. I'm like, where'd they go? They must have had bad signal. They just left me. So, but it's interesting because it's doing the things that you're uncomfortable with, but that's going to create the growth to allow for you to get the activity. What do I say? Activity always equals results. We have to put forth the activity for the results that we want. Oftentimes we want this result. We want these 10K commission months, 15,000 commission months, but we're not willing to do the work to produce the commission that we want, right? And so that's super, super hard sometimes. And so now in the training, Bryan, this is something that I saw you take off with and really starting to tap in. You kind of talked about it a little bit, so I want to kind of dive in. Is that in the training, on the Tuesdays trainings that we do, we tap into building centers of influence, right? And it's something, or what people may call referral partners, but I love to call it the centers of influence. And so something that's super, super important for us is that being able to build connections with those people that are in front of our target audience, and for them to be able to get to us, right? And so for me, when I was a P&C agent, I tapped into realtors and mortgage loan officers, and then my biggest centers of influence was the Landlords Association. I tapped into them, and I got bank big time, because I began to become their select and only person that they would use for insurance, through building relationships and nurturing my centers of influence. And so talk to me a little bit, Bryan. You kind of mentioned contractors, but what that's been like for you as far as being able to consistently generate high quality leads and referrals through building centers of influence. Can you kind of explain what that is and how you've been able to do that a little bit?
Yeah. So, I mean, like everybody, referral partners are great. You know what I mean? But like, I like that term, the centers of influence. It's just, once you're going after that target market, no matter what it is, and you really make those relationships with the centers of influence, whoever they are, it's really night and day what it can do for you as far as your growth. You're not searching for that next opportunity. Once you build those strong relationships, those opportunities will just flow to you. Now, it does take a little bit of time to build them. And like over the last 5 months, when I decided to get into like artisan contractor niche and really focus on that. Like you said, we make a list of who you think is going to be your best centers of influence. So it's, and I, being in the contracting construction industry, I had hard money lenders that I used to deal with, realtors, REI investment guys, contractors. So I reached out to a lot of my contractor buddies that were well known in the industry, locally here in Delaware, some in Maryland, a little bit in southeastern Pennsylvania, but really trying to build those connections and trying to let them know exactly what I can do for them and how I can help benefit their business. Because like I said, they don't have time. They don't want to sit around on a Sunday and sit in front of the computer for 4 hours trying to figure out their insurance and all that stuff. You know what I mean? They just want to make sure someone's taken care of. They want to trust somebody like your trusted risk advisor. They want to say, Bryan, take care of this and get this done for me. So I started going out and hitting the pavement. So I went door to door. And not only am I building those center of influence, but I've gotten business out of all those. So you building those relationships. I've always liked face to face, even though I sell on the phone majority of the time. Like I could talk to anybody. You know what I mean? It's just like every time when I was younger, I used to live in California. I'd fly back and forth 3 or 4 times a month. And like, I talk to anybody, airports, wherever it is. It's easy to strike a conversation because you never know, you don't know where people are at in life. You don't know how you might be able to help each other because it's all about building those solid relationships. That's whole business is about relationships. It's about knowing people, it's about building and trusting people. Like, I can call Trista and ask her for advice, David and Elle, like, doesn't matter. Anybody you reach out to, you just really have to focus on that. But the one of the main ones that I went after, like, as I was trying to figure out, was like, okay, I'm going to some of they're larger contractors, but they're single, they're single entities that work for themselves. So I reached out to Delaware Contractors Association, and it just happened to 2 days before that, they were having their like first big gala of the year. This was like about January 17th or something like that. So I joined, I won as a vendor, and like I literally probably got 50 contacts, 50. Like, and it's just a constant, and it's just on my phone constantly rings, and it's like, who is this? They're like, oh yeah, we met here. You know what I mean? It was like, I didn't have time to put all these guys on my phone yet, and they were just, they were blowing me up. So it's just like, but out of that's come a bunch of other stuff, it was like, I got from that Delaware's Contract Association, the guy, because he knew I in the P&C space, he hooked me up with 2 other realtors that hooked me up with 2 lenders. So it's kind of like it's a domino effect that you can actually build a tree. You know what I mean? And she had activities in a producers academy. She's like, you draw your wheel, and it's just like at first you're like, okay, this and that, but then after you start doing it, it's like it just branches out all over like a family tree. It went back 1,000 years. You know what I mean? So it's just the more you concentrate on a center of influence, especially if you're a newer agent. I mean, within the first couple of years or whatever, it's just build those centers of influence. Take the time. You know what I mean? Just take a little bit of brainstorming. This game is not rocket science. Does it get hard and difficult at times? Yes, it does, because it's easy, but it's hard at the same time. You have to know what to do, when to do it, who to talk to, who not to talk to. So it's just building those centers of influence has just been night and day over the last 6 months for me. So it was just like, that's when I really kind of seen things take off. I just got to a point. I'm like, listen, I've spent 30 years in the construction industry. I know the industry inside and out, and not just roofing or like, framing or siding or exteriors. Like I did it all when I was in that industry. I was like a master of a lot of stuff, and I'm not bragging. My dad taught me when I was younger how to do this stuff. He was a mechanic, and I just picked it up, and through different people that I've worked with in California and Florida and New York, you take all this, expertise, and you store it. And then it's like, why not use that to your advantage? Now you spent all that time cultivating all that knowledge, now you can return the favor by helping these small business owners out, with their insurance programs. And like I had a roofing one the other day. The guy I was reviewing his policy, was actually a walk-in. It was like 2 Fridays ago. Walked in, met him, and then had the Friday after that, scheduled another appointment. So we just started going over everything, and I was like, listen, the best thing to do is just let me get a copy of your policies. Let me take a look at them. I'll review them. I'll get back to you. And there was hidden gaps, and this is a roofing company, and there was hidden gaps in the policy that could potentially, have a catastrophic financial, effect if something were to happen, if there was a claim or something like that, So it's, one thing I found out too is a lot of these small contractors, they don't have safety programs in place. You know what I'm saying? And if you're in that, in commercial, if there is a safety program in place and there's employee handbooks and there's protocols to follow if someone is injured, it helps massively with your general liability and your workman's comp. So it's just going after that and being, laser focused on that and letting them know, building that trust with them. Like, listen, I can take care of this for you. I can set you up where you don't have to worry about it. So that's, the center of influence is just, it's been a major game changer.
Absolutely. I love it. Let's kind of talk about, for you, we talk, Bryan, about the one call close, right? That's one of my famous things that I did as an agent 16 years ago. It's what I trained my producers when I was an agency owner. It's what I train you guys in the Producers Academy, is that one call close. And now, granted, when you're dealing with commercial, you're not one call closing them, right? Because if only it would be that easy. However, with a lot of things, home, auto, life, things like that, health, you can one call close. And so talk about what techniques or strategies that you learned to be able to help you close more deals on the first call versus having to say, yep, I need to think about it, or those knee-jerk reactions that we hear. Like, let me think about it. Let me wait to renewal. Let me do whatever it may be that we hear, for us to be able to close more the first time, so now we're not chasing our tail around. Kind of talk about how that's been a game changer for you, Bryan.
Like I said, with commercial, we're not doing too many one call closes, but I wish it was that easy. You deal with underwriters and back and forth and stuff. But for the home and auto, it's sometimes you one call close, sometimes you don't. I try to a lot when I do it. I just haven't done a lot of it lately. But I think the main thing with the one call close is building that rapport right off the bat. You know what I'm saying? If they're interested and they're willing to talk, you have to dig deep questions that are going to get them to start thinking in their mind, how they're going to move forward, how we're solving problems for them, maybe problems they don't even know they have. You know what I mean? With home and auto, it's a little bit simpler, you know what I mean? But, sometimes they don't know they have those problems. They don't know if they're protected in this area. If they get in this accident, how's that going to affect them? You know what I mean? A lot of, especially with property damage on auto, you know what I mean? These, that's just they're like, oh, I thought I was covered. I'm like, yeah. I said, you're not covered. You have $25,000. You get in an accident with a $100,000 Mercedes, you could be held personally liable. But, I think with, like, especially on a one call close, you have to be thinking 3 steps ahead, and asking those questions, is planting those seeds to get them to say yes. You know what I mean? Before it comes up, because when you hit them with a question, it's already leading them to the next question that, we're getting this done today. You need this. You can do this. Let's get it done today. Now, like, another thing that I like about that is, like, when with the one call close, especially with objections and stuff like that. So the more rapport you build in the beginning and the more trust you get from them, and you can lead them how they, how you need to lead them, not to only get a sale, but just to make sure they're protected. You can get them to overcome their own objections, so it's like all about leading with questions that are going to get them the solution that they want. It's just objections are just questions that they don't have the answer to. You know what I'm saying? That's why they bring those. That's why the objections come up. You know what I mean? So you're building a rapport. You're teaching them kind of in a way, you know what I mean? Because most people ask the person, they don't know about insurance. You know what I mean? They just know they need it to have it, but it's, I find that with the one call close, just the framework and the parameters, even if you're not doing a one call close, that framework, the way you built that and the way the Producers Academy presents that, it's super helpful because it lays everything out for you in a detailed manner where, you're going to get that one call close 90% of the time if you follow that to the T. And that's just, I go over that, every couple of weeks just to try to keep it refreshed, because I found so much good information in the Producers Academy and the training portal. It's just, and the one main thing that you see in there is activity. So that's just that's one thing that stands out in there. And it's just, but that's setting that subconscious seed in there, you know what I mean? Because it's, when you first start out, like I said, you don't know, they tell you to dial, but it's being calculated and how you are are doing that, it makes a big difference.
Absolutely. Activity equals results. And that's just it. And that's the thing is that with activity equals results, because that's what I preach. Someone told me the other day, Bryan, they're like, I was telling them I'm wanting to get my next tattoo. I only have one. So I only have one and I want two more. And they're like, someone said, are you going to get activity equals results? And I was like, no, I'm not tattooing that on myself, but maybe I should, because I even tell my kids, like, if you want these results, you need to put forth the activity. If you want electronics from 4 to 9 every day, you got to earn the electronics by doing your schoolwork and your chores. So, and then making sure you do your other curriculum. They have little charts they have to check off and all of that. I'm that type of mom. But that's just the idea. So nobody throw me ideas for my next tattoo, because it's not going to be activity equals results. So, but it's super, super important. But that's the thing is that we, in the one call close, the way that I've designed it, the way that it really does with the sales psychology, you're asking them questions. Bryan, you mentioned it, asking them questions to be able to solicit a yes. Right. The one thing that I hear, and I listen to a lot of phone calls, is that throughout someone's presentation, they're asking people, like, do you have any questions? Do you have any questions? Do you have any questions? And you've asked them 4, 5, 6 times throughout the process or throughout your presentation. And then when you get to the end, you've trained them those 5 or 6 times to say no to your question, so that when you're going to go close it, what are they going to tell you? No, right? And so you have to be able, so that one call close really teaches you to be able to overcome it in such a way to ask questions that you're going to solicit a yes to, so that at the end, when you assume the close and you don't ask for the close, but you assume it, you're getting a yes versus, and let me think about it, versus not right now, versus whatever it is, but it's basically a no, right? And so that's the important thing, is to be able to really follow that. And then the one call close, and we talk about this, Bryan, is asking those important questions, like, other than price, what's the most important thing to you? When's the last time your agent sat down and reviewed your policy? Because those things really open up and allow for you to find out kind of where they're at, and then to be able to kind of dive in and like you said, uncover gaps in coverages, and really come in and show them, like, hey, like you said, 25,000. Pennsylvania, just on the auto side, Pennsylvania bodily injuries $5,000. That's a backup camera. So when I'm talking to clients and I'm saying, hey, and they're like, oh yeah, I have full coverage. First of all, there's no such thing as full coverage. So I get to just rip the Band-Aid off of that and let them know, like, no, there is no such thing. And second is that you have $5,000 in coverage. The risk that they're running when they're not properly protected. And that's why from the very beginning, Bryan, what do I teach in the Producers Academy? Yes, we're insurance agents, but we're not just insurance agents. We're trusted risk advisors, right? I saw you were trying to say it before me. We're trusted risk advisors. And so it's so, so important, because that's our job. You guys will hear me say this, and I'm going to dive in and ask Bryan another question, but I just want to speak just for a minute for all of you guys, because you guys are all agents. You guys all have your license, whether it be life, health, annuities, or property and casualty, whatever line of business that you write. I want you to start seeing yourself as trusted risk advisors. That's the biggest thing. It's a mindset shift. When you go from being an insurance agent or a sales agent or a producer to the mindset of being a trusted risk advisor, literally everything changes. Why? Because I will tell you this, and I teach this in the Producers Academy, outside of our family and our friends being the most important people in our life, the first most important person outside of that is a doctor, I believe, because if you don't have good health, what type of quality of life do we have, right? But number 2, it's you. It's the risk advisor. It's the insurance agent. Why? Because if we are doing our job the right way and we are properly protecting our clients the way they need to be protected, that God forbid, in the event of a claim, that guess what? No CPA is going to be able to rescue them. No attorney is going to be able to rescue them. No accountant can really do justice to them like we can if we've properly protected them. Their assets are protected. And so it allows for you to come across as that trusted risk advisor, because guess what? You're not coming across salesy. I've had plenty of conversations like, what do you do for a living? Oh, I'm an insurance agent. Conversation stops. Bam, done. Nobody wants to hear from you. But when I say I'm a trusted risk advisor, you know what that does? What is that, Bryan? Tell me more. What's a trusted risk advisor? What do you do? And there's my open door to now be able to have a conversation and to now be able to potentially have a client. And that is going to allow for me to build my pipeline. So a couple more questions, Bryan. Obviously, insurance in general can be difficult, right? I mean,
Mhm.
it is. Let's face it. It's fun, but it can be difficult. So how do you stay motivated and focused, especially during the slower periods or when even facing rejection? How do you stay motivated and focused?
I think with anything in life, if you're passionate about something, okay. So like I'm passionate about insurance. I mean, as weird as that is, you know what I mean. It's just like I'm like Joe Camper. Like he knew when he was little he wanted to do. I mean, I wish I would have got into it 20 years ago. But if you're passionate about it, and if you're passionate about something, you just have to take that mindset and bring that to this career. Like I work out all the time. I've always been active. I try to stay as fit as possible. But when I'm in the gym, I just get into the zone. You know what I mean? So I get up in the morning, I go to the gym at 5:30, and then I come to the office. So my wheels are already turning. You know what I'm saying?
Yep.
I'm in the gym, taking notes, looking at my to-do list. It just, to be passionate about something, you really gotta want it. So it's very easy in this business to get discouraged, especially if you're kind of spinning your wheels, or if you're scared to ask for help. There's no reason to be, afraid of trying to reach out and get help. You know what I mean? And I dealt with that when I was first started. I was like, nah, I don't need that help. And I'm like, well, maybe I do. You know what I mean? So it's like,
Yeah.
you have to get out of your own way sometimes. And that's the bottom line. So it's, take that passion, whatever else is in life. And if you bring it to this industry, and if you really do love this industry and you really do want to succeed, the sky is really the limit. But you have to set yourself up for success. Staying motivated. It's like motivation comes and goes. There's going to be days you don't want to get out of bed. There's going to be days that you don't want to take the kids to school. There's going to be days you don't want to do the laundry or whatever it is, or do the yard work or whatever. But as long as you stay disciplined, and discipline, it's hard to teach discipline. You know what I mean? You
Yes,
either
it
have to or
is.
you don't. You know what I'm saying? I'm not saying you can't get disciplined, but I'm just saying it's just like, that's a mindset that you have, and most agents in this industry have it. You know what I mean? You have to stay disciplined, because there's going to be ups and down months. You know what I mean? And it's just like, when I first started, it's just like, but I knew, and with anything in life, it takes 10,000 hours to master something. So I knew it was going to be 5 years. So even though like the first year wasn't that great, my second year was decent. You know what I mean? This year's going to be a lot better. It's just, I knew it was a process. There was the evolution to it. You have to evolve as a person and grow, and by acquiring training and learning, and always stay on top of things, industry news, insight, talking to agents that are where you want to be, or that are doing what you want to do. That will keep you into the game. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
But if you isolate yourself and you think you can do it by yourself, and I'm not saying you can't, maybe I know there's people are, and I know people come right out of the gates like bats out of hell, and and they crush it. You know what I'm saying? But for the most part, the average agent, it's a grind. You know what I mean? And that's just, and I think staying motivated. I will say this: staying motivated it's hard to stay motivated, but the discipline is a state of mind, and it's always going to be that way. So if you stay disciplined, there's nothing you can't accomplish if you put your mind to it and you stay laser focused.
Yeah. Awesome. And that's just it. Like, you have to be able to stay focused. I even go a little bit deeper, and I always tell agents, and you learn this in the Producer Academy. It's one of the very first trainings that they get is for mindset, is knowing your why. Why do you do this? Like, why do you get up every morning to do this? Because let's face it, Bryan, unless you're really Joe Camper, and I can pick on him a little bit, most of us did not grow up and say we wanted to be an insurance agent, right? I mean, that was not anything that I went to college for, something completely different. And so it is not us waking up to say that that's what we're going to be or do. And so kind of an industry that most people kind of fell into when you talk to them about it. And so that's just it, is knowing your why, knowing why did you get into this in the first place? For me, it's to be able to help people. And that's just it. When I remember going in Allstate 16 years ago and then being asked to go from a CSR position to a sales position, many of you guys know this. Like, I literally legit cried for 2 weeks every single day going to work. I would cry at work. I was terrified to sell, because why? I had this stigma in my head that insurance agents were these dirty car salespeople. Like, that's the stigma that I had. And thankfully, that stigma is getting better and better. It's not so much now as it was, but it was when the light bulb went off on my head to say, I'm actually helping people. And that's what I love to do. That's who I am, is that I love to help agents and I love to help protect clients as well. And so that's what was all change the game changer for me is that what is my why? My why is something super big. It's more than just helping agents, but insurance is a vehicle for me to be able to accomplish the things that I want to accomplish on this earth. And so that's what motivates me every day because it sucks sometimes getting up. And, for me, I'm just starting to get back into the gym. So I'm not ripped and buff like you, Bryan. Like I pulled an ab muscle today. Like I was on the crunching machine. I had to have my 15-year-old son like get me off because I was stuck and he's laughing at me. And I'm like, I really legit pulled a muscle. I can't like laugh because my abdominal muscles hurt so bad, but I'm going to get there. But it's just that consistency over time is what's going to build that for you. There's going to be those days it's just going to suck. And so it's true. So I love it. Okay. Last thing here, last question for you, Bryan, that I have to kind of really wrap up Producers Academy. And then I'm going to kind of dive into what that is here. Looking ahead, kind of like what are your goals for your future and what steps are you taking and how are you using Producers Academy to help you achieve those goals that you have for the future?
It's not a big question, but eventually I want to open my own agency. Like I said, I'm in a really good situation where I'm at now. Like I'm not the owner, but like my buddy that owns the agency, I've been best friends with him since I've been 3 years old. And he's like, he built a scratch agency from nothing, and went through a lot of stuff to make it happen. And we have a perfect platform here. If you can't make money here, you can't make money anywhere. So,
yeah.
But I eventually want to open my own agency probably in the next 2 to 3 years. Maybe sooner. I'm planning on moving down south next year, so probably either Savannah or northern Orlando area. I haven't decided yet.
Don't say Florida because David and Elle are going to try to get you down there. I'm just kidding.
I'll be visiting David and Elle when I get down there.
There you go.
But it's just I think with anything in life, if you stay, and I've said this since I was like 12 years old, because I never wanted to stay in Delaware. Just it's not a bad state, but it's just there's not much to do here. You know what I mean? Except work, what I mean? So it's just, I want to go somewhere where I can spend a lot of time outdoors and stuff like that, warmer weather. I'm tired of the cold weather. I used to love the cold weather when I was younger. Now it's just like, oh my gosh, I just can't stand it. You know what I mean? So, I'd like to open my own agency, nothing crazy. I'd like to be able to hire some agents and build my own legacy. You know what I'm saying? Like I'm not building, this isn't mine. You know what I'm saying? So I want to be able to put my signature on it, but I still think I got a little bit to go. You know what I mean? And it's just, that's just the honest truth. You know what I mean? There's more I can learn. I think like from just being like, I don't deal with any service work. We don't deal with any of that. I just sell and, I service some of my clients, but you know what I mean? It's just, I don't deal with a lot of the back end stuff that, most agent owners do. And it's a lot, you know what I mean? Even if you're a one-man shop, it's a lot. If you have to sell and service, you know what I mean? It's to stay on top of it. I mean, this is not, it's not a 9-to-5 job. It's not even a 9-to-9 job. It's like you're on call and it takes time, but you have to set those boundaries. You know what I mean? So it's just like, I told all my clients when I first started out, because I didn't have any clients. I'm like, listen, here's my cell phone. As long as you call me before midnight, we're cool. Just don't call me after midnight. And frankly, nobody ever called me after 9 o'clock. But it's just like, another girl in the office in Virginia, she's like, better stop doing that because you're going to be starting getting calls all hours of the night. It's just as you progress in the game, you learn tips and tricks from people that have been in the industry for years. Like I said, the other lady that's in the office down there, she's been in the business for 20 years, was a major Geico trainer. So it's there's a lot of good stuff down in that office down there. And I think it's been tough because I'm the only salesperson in this office. And I grew up, had a sales job where I was in like, not call centers, but there were sales jobs. You're on a floor and there's people there. So you thrive off that energy. So it goes back to the discipline and staying motivated. So, cause it's very easy to get unmotivated and then lack on your discipline a little bit when you're not, around everybody that's doing what you're doing on a daily basis. So I think the agency is one thing. I think just staying disciplined, keeping up on the everyday activity. You know what I mean? I love the business. I love what it offers. I love what you can get from it. The sky is truly the limit in this business. There's not many businesses that you can say that you don't need a college degree. You could come out and take a test and be licensed in 30 days. And then you can go make money. You're not going to get that opportunity anywhere. That's why there's more millionaires in this industry and other industry. I think just people, if you're hungry and you want it and you stay focused and you get the help you need, I think that is all you need for success in this business. But you have to, like I said, get the help you need. Don't be scared to reach out, get the proper training, get in the Producers Academy. You won't regret it. You know what I mean? So I think that's kind of where it's at.
Yeah, awesome. I love it. And I'm super excited because the best is truly yet to come for you, Bryan. It's been such a joy to be able to work with you, to continue to work with you.